There is no death that really separates things. There is always hope to meet again with loved ones, though in the form of a lifeless body. The Mapalenka ritual is to move a corpse from one burial to another burial. In the Mapalenka ritual, a special ritual will be carried out. The Parang Lapis family will parade and carry the body to a wide place. On the way, they will slaughter a pig, which will then be broiled and eaten with their family and closest relatives on the spot. After finishing the meal together, the body will proceed to parade it back to the new stone burial. Abstinence that must not be violated during the Mapalenka process is that it's not allowed to carry the corpse using a vehicle. Even though it's quite a distance from the old burial to the new place, the body must be carried together. All members of the extended family, even the children, work together to carry the body to the new burial. This is a big family of Samterante. They will also perform the Matnene ritual. But it's a bit different because this year they only perform the Mapakasai ritual, namely changing the wrapping of the body. The big family together carefully remove the body of Grandma Samterantes, who died about 35 years ago. Love radiates from the face of the whole family when they clean the dead body. The corpse of Grandma Samterante will be reclothed with a new wrapper. This procession is called Mapakasai, which is replacing the wrapping or reclothing the corpse because the coffin had been destroyed.
Jadi itu adalah satu ritual untuk menghormati para leluhur, supaya saya tahu dari mana saya, siapa saya, tetap ada komunikasi secara rohani kepada para leluhur. Orang di Toraja percaya bahwa mereka itu harus dirawat dengan baik, supaya kita pun belajar bagaimana merawat yang masih hidup. Itu harus lebih baik lagi. Yang mati aja kita rawat, apalagi yang hidup. Perasaannya hanya sebagai suatu menghormati para leluhur. Sampai mereka meninggal pun kita percaya bahwa tubuh sudah kembali ke tanah, tetapi jiwanya kembali kepada Sang Pencipta dan hidup kekal. Saya merasa bahwa saya masih punya leluhur yang saya tahu. Saya diajarkan orang tua untuk mengenal leluhur, dan itu patut saya hormati. Kerinduan itu selalu ada sepanjang hayat ya, tetapi bersyukur kalau kita masih bisa mengunjungi makam itu, berdoa untuk mereka, dan mereka pun bisa melihat kita dengan bahagia di sana.
The Manene procession is closed with the Mapakande ritual. The whole family who conduct Manene rituals will provide food and drinks for the deceased family member in front of the sarcophagi. The food can be bero and arecha nut, but people also give food in other forms. After the offering time is finished, the door to the barrel will be closed. Once closed, the hole will never be reopened until the next Manene in 3 years' time.
Ajaran Aluk Todolo itu adalah kepercayaan yang belum menganut agama Kristen dan agama Islam. Jadi dulu itu namanya animisme, jadi belum percaya kepada Tuhan. Nah, jadi mak nenek itu bisa dilaksanakan oleh siapapun, tidak terkecuali. Jadi kalau ada waktunya kita mak nenek, dan kalau ada waktunya kita buka seperti ini, itu silahkan. Tapi kalau pada umumnya, mak nenek ini karena ada kerinduan daripada semua keluarga, maka mak nenek ini wajib dilaksanakan oleh setiap anggota yang ada keluarganya meninggal, dan setiap liang dibuka untuk mengenang arwah para nenek-nenek kita yang terdahulu meninggal mendahului kita.
After the barrel is closed, it is then tied together with the feast, and the main dish is buffalo meat. Uniquely, the tedong or buffalo meat cooked at the closing of the Manene ritual should never be called buffalo meat at all, but it is called parai lampu, which means field rice. The happy ritual of Manene will soon end. The last session, the event, will be closed with the tradition of the Viseta folk game. Sisemba will be held in an open place. Sisemba is a foot fighting game. The atmosphere will be very crowded, especially when the adrenaline of the participants can no longer be confined. That's when the Toraja people let go of all the excitement. To reduce the risk of casualties or death during Sisemba, there is always a referee who acts as a detacher. When the situation gets very dangerous, participants who take part in a Sisemba game must be in pairs. 2 people have to hold on to one another. Opponents who have sat down or fallen must not faint. There should be no grudge. After the event is over, they must bury the hatchet. Manene is not only about cleaning and replacing the clothes of the dead body or moving a corpse to another place. This tradition is also interpreted as a way of respecting and releasing longing for their ancestors. Manene is also a momentum for the whole family to gather, a moment to stay in touch between family members. The whole series of Manene rituals are finished, a very old and rare ancient ritual that only exists in Toraja, a tradition that has been strictly held by more than 1 million people in Toraja for centuries. Commemorating and remembering those who have passed away. The death of a loved one will be honored by everyone, but the Toraja people have done it in a different way. Some Toraja people today still want to be mummified. When they die, they want their children and grandchildren to see what they do now. My nene will always be there and carried out in Toraja.
Pristine tropical beaches, exotic rituals, in the beautiful island of Lombok. Colorful craft, created from local resources, presented to visitors. Authentic traditional villages, distinctive pottery. Guests can take part in the process. Exquisite pearls, embark on a remarkable voyage. A visit to the nature preserve. Towards the sea and beaches. A thrilling adrenaline rush in a spectacular turquoise water. Parties on the beach. Celebration of enigmatic local culture. Amazingly festive. Exploring the treks, crystal clear waters of the towering plateaus. A serene volcano in Lombok, the other island paradise. Wonderful Indonesia.
Widodo has called on every element of society to protect each other and keep the situation calm, in harmony, and joyful ahead of the 2024 elections. The Palestinian death toll from Israeli attacks on the Gaza Strip had risen to 25,000, with 62,681 others injured since the latest round of the Israel-Hamas conflict broke out on October 7th. Shipping costs from Asia to Europe are skyrocketing as container ships reroute around Africa's Cape of Good Hope to evade attacks by Yemen's Houthi group in the Red Sea. Hello and welcome to Focus Today on TVRI World. We're airing live from the capital of Indonesia, Jakarta, with news from Indonesia and around the world. For the next hour, you'll have me, Siska Becker. Let's begin with our first report. Smoke rose from Gaza on Sunday, visible from southern Israel, as the death toll in the territory since the conflict broke out in October passed 25,000, according to Gaza health officials. Fighters clashed in several places, from Jabalia in the north to Khan Yunis in the south, the focus of recent Israeli operations. Israel said its troops had cleared much of northern Gaza of Hamas military network, and more than 1 million residents of that part of the enclave have moved south to flee the bombardments. However, fighting has continued in the Jabalia refugee camp and other areas around Gaza City. Gaza's health ministry said 178 Palestinians were killed in the past 24 hours, one of the deadliest days of the war so far. Israel's military said a soldier was killed in fighting. The Palestinian death toll from Israeli attacks on the Gaza Strip had risen to 25,000. With 62,681 others injured since the latest round of the Israel-Hamas conflict broke out on October 7, 2023, the Gaza-based health ministry have said. The 15 attacks launched by the Israeli military forces in the past 24 hours had killed 178 Palestinians and injured 293 others, the ministry said. There are still some people trapped under the rubble who have not been rescued. The Israeli Defense Forces, or IDF, issued a statement stating that over the past day, the IDF engaged in clashes with members of the Palestinian Islamic Resistance Movement, or Hamas, near the Daraj and Tufah in North Gaza Strip's Gaza City, killing 15 Hamas armed personnel. The IDF conducted a raid on a Hamas-controlled building, seizing weapons stored inside. An IDF soldier was killed during an operation in the southern area of Gaza Strip, said the statement. Since Israel launched its ground military operation in the Gaza Strip, a total of 195 IDF soldiers have been killed. The Israeli military has reported 531 deaths and 2,659 injuries since the conflict broke out. Displaced Palestinians in Gaza say it is increasingly difficult to find medicine for their children who suffer from a wide range of illnesses while living in tent camps in the south of Gaza Strip.
Recent escalation of violence has exacerbated the already existing problems, with the lack of access to basic necessities such as medicines and healthcare becoming a major concern for thousands of displaced families. They say get the treatment from the pharmacy. There is no treatment in the pharmacy. We went to school UNRWA center and there was no treatment. There is no treatment available, not even Acount. Pain and fever relief is not available. They are Acount or aspirin tablets. They tell me to give it to a child. A 2-year-old baby cannot take the tablet. he will throw up. Meanwhile, a doctor at European hospital in Khan Yunis added that most hospitals have become ill-equipped to handle the rising numbers of patients, and in particular, children. As temperatures drop during the winter months, the situation becomes even more critical. The lack of proper housing and heating means that many families are forced to live in tents or makeshift shelters, leaving them vulnerable to cold and pneumonia.
A French field hospital aboard the Dixmude, a helicopter carrier docked off the coast of Egypt, has treated around 1,000 people from Gaza. And in the Gaza Strip, a volunteer, Fida Al-Kurshali, operates a makeshift clinic in a tent, providing essential medical care amid the ongoing Palestinian-Israeli conflict.
The vessel, equipped with wards, operating theaters, and medical staff, has been providing care since November as health infrastructure in Gaza faces collapse. Israeli forces engage in intense conflict with Hamas, resulting in over 25,000 Palestinian casualties and severely strained medical facilities. Most of Gaza's hospitals are non-functional, leaving residents with limited access to medical care. The French ship's captain described it as an unprecedented mission addressing immediate health needs and providing outpatient consultations. The situation highlights the challenges faced by Gazans in accessing medical assistance, with efforts to make transfer to patients for further treatment. This initiative follows Italy's deployment of a similar floating hospital to the Egyptian coast in December. Despite the challenges of conducting medical work in a tent, Al-Kurshali, a volunteer medic, remains dedicated to serving those in need. The tent serves as a multifunctional space accommodating patients, sleeping quarters, and meal areas. Al-Kurshali attends to sick children with dehydration and fever, offering both physical and emotional support. While acknowledging the limitation of the makeshift clinic, she emphasizes the necessity of providing assistance under challenging circumstances. The conflict, which erupted on October 7 last year, has resulted in over 24,900 Palestinian casualties and more than 62,000 Palestinians injured. Additionally, over 85% of the Gaza Strip's population, nearly 2 million people, have been displaced, facing constant movement in search of safe havens due to Israeli ground operation.
Moreover, in Gaza Strip, humanitarian aid provided by the Chinese government has been received by the Palestinian Red Crescent Society. The aid convoy passed from the Egyptian side of the Rafah border crossing into the war-torn Gaza Strip on Friday, carrying humanitarian supplies that will be distributed to people suffering a severe shortage of food supplies as Israel's military operations in Gaza rage on. An official from the Palestinian Red Crescent Society thanked China for its assistance and said more aid should be allowed to enter the enclave. The latest round of conflict between Israeli forces and Hamas erupted on October 7th last year, and so far, more than 24,900 Palestinians have been killed and over 62,000 injured. Nearly 2 million people, more than 85% of the population, have been displaced across the Gaza Strip. Families are forced to move frequently, searching for safe places as Israeli ground operations grow larger. Thousands of demonstrators took to the streets of Brussels, Belgium, to demand economic and diplomatic sanctions against Israel and an immediate ceasefire in Gaza.
Police estimated that 9,000 people marched through the city, while the spokesman for the Belgio-Palestinian Association, Gregory Moses, said he did not believe the solution to the conflict between Israel and Hamas was military and condemned Israel for collectively punishing Palestinians for the October 7th attacks on Israel. The toll of Palestinians killed in Israel strikes on the Gaza Strip since war broke out between Israel and Hamas in October has passed 25,000, Gaza health officials said. While Israeli attacks and street battles rage across the Hamas-run enclave. Gaza's health ministry said 178 Palestinians were killed in the past 24 hours, one of the deadliest days of the war so far. Israel's military said a soldier was killed in fighting. A total of 25,105 Palestinians, many of them women and children, have been killed, and 62,681 have been wounded in Israeli strikes since October 7th. The ministry said in a statement, it does not differentiate between civilian and militant death, but says most of those killed have been civilians. United Nations Secretary-General Antonio Guterres denounced Israel for what he called the heartbreaking deaths of Palestinian civilians in Gaza.
The General Elections Commission, or KPU, held the fourth debate session of the 2024 presidential election at the Jakarta Convention Center, Senayan, Jakarta on Sunday. The fourth debate featured 3 vice presidential candidates centered on issues of energy, natural resources, food, carbon tax, environment, agrarian problems, and indigenous people. Here are the complete recap.
Vice presidential candidate number 1, Muhaimin Iskandar, said that the political will to not ignore farmers becomes crucial in addressing the impact of climate crisis on food production and its quality. Muhaimin said that Indonesia has a huge potential of supply and demand for food production. In addition to this, he also said that all regulations or legal instruments related to farmer protection and food production are actually created and complete. Vice presidential candidate number 2, Gibran Rakabuming Raka, highlighted the importance of developing sense of belonging among rural citizens. He gave example of tourism village in Mojokerto, East Java, that has been awarded with a prize from the Minister of Tourism and Creative Economy, Sandiaga Uno. According to Gibran, the tourism village is a vivid example of how a sense of belonging is built among the rural citizens. Vice presidential candidate number 3, Mahfud MD, believed that reform of bureaucrats and law enforcement officials is one of the solutions to resolve the agrarian issues in Indonesia. According to Mahfud, sole implementation of regulations is not enough. The most important thing is on the highest leadership and authority. The authority to govern rests of the hands of the bureaucrats and law enforcement officials. He said there are still officials in Indonesia who refuse to enforce the rules, despite facts that such rulings have been more than sufficient to resolve problems in Indonesia.
President Joko Widodo has called on every element of the society to protect each other and to keep the situation calm, in harmony, and joyful ahead of the 2024 elections.
In his address at the 78th anniversary celebration of Muslim Nahdlatul Ulama at Gelora Bung Karno Main Stadium, Jakarta on Saturday, President Joko Widodo encouraged all parties to strengthen relations, take care of each other, and to remind one another to maintain situations, to remain calm, and live in harmony. The president also reminded the public not to easily fall into the divide and rule politics due to differences in opinion and political choices ahead of the 2024 general elections.
Sebentar lagi kita akan pemilu, pilihan presiden dan pilihan legislatif. proses pemilu itu sangat penting dan sangat menentukan. Tetapi kita tidak ingin gara-gara pemilu, gara-gara beda pendapat, gara-gara beda pilihan, justru kita saling menghujat. Tidak boleh, benar. Tidak boleh saling menghina, tidak boleh saling menjelekkan.
President Jokowi said that the process during elections is important, but he did not want differences in choices to lead to social conflict among the public.
The Nahdlatul Ulama Executive Board, or PBNU, has deactivated 63 officials who have been registered as legislative candidates or members of campaign teams of presidential and vice presidential candidates in the 2024 elections. Deputy for Organization at the Nahdlatul Ulama Central Executive Board, or PBNU, Amin Said Husni, said in Jakarta on Sunday that the 63 officials of the group had been deactivated until the 2024 elections completed. The members have been deactivated due to their participation in the 2024 elections, whether as legislative candidates or campaign team staff. Amin said the deactivated members were found in several political parties and all campaign teams. The members previously held various positions in the PBNU, which is the biggest Muslim organization in Indonesia. Prior to their deactivation, most of the members had submitted their leave right after the General Elections Commission, or KPU, announced presidential and vice presidential candidates, as well as a list of legislative candidates. As the members submitted their letter themselves, Amin said the PBNU decision to deactivate them was based on their willingness to halt their activities in PBNU temporarily. The Indonesian consulate in New York, the United States, in collaboration with the Overseas Election Committee, or PPLN, and the Overseas Election Supervisory Committee, or Panwaslu, in the city, organized an event to January 19th to promote peaceful election.
The Indonesian Consulate General, or KJRI, in New York invited community figures and elders, religious leaders, and prominent figures from Indonesian diaspora community in New York and its surrounding areas to join the event. The Indonesian Consul General in New York, Winanto Adi, said on Friday that the event was held as part of the consulate office efforts to promote peaceful election in the city. According to Winanto Adi, escalation of political tension is normal, and it also happens in other countries. Therefore, he encouraged all Indonesian citizens to monitor and ensure the Indonesian elections in New York will be peaceful, free, fair, and transparent. He also encouraged the community to welcome the 2024 elections as a joyful celebration of democracy. Winanto emphasized that the election in any country may create a somewhat heated political situations, but he said that this is a normal thing. The chairman of the Overseas Election Committee, or PPLN New York, Indrio Sukmono, said as many as 11,141 voters were registered in the final voters list, or DPT, in New York and surrounding areas. Of that total, 6,647 voters will cast their vote via mail, while the rest will cast their vote at polling stations in New York, mobile ballot boxes in Philadelphia and in Dover. On this occasion, Indrio also demonstrates the proper way to cast valid votes for presidential and vice presidential candidates and legislative candidates. The election in KJRI New York will commence earlier than at home, starting on February 6th in Philadelphia, located at the Aquinas Center. Then on February 8th in Dover, located at Dover Elks, New Hampshire. And on February 10th in New York City at Sound River Studio, Long Island City. Meanwhile, the vote counting will be held at KJRI New York on February 14th.
The General Election Commission, or KPU, has set a voting schedule for Indonesian diaspora living abroad. The overseas voting day will be held earlier than the one set here at home on February 14th. The following is the voting day schedule for Indonesian diaspora around the world. Let's have a look. The KPU has issued a circular number 1811-2023, which consists of complete schedule and location overseas for the 2024 presidential and legislative election. According to the circular, overseas voting day will begin on February 5th. However, several other locations abroad will hold voting day on February 14th, the same date for nationwide voting. On Saturday, February 10th, there will be 70 cities around the world where Indonesians will get to cast their votes. Cities that will be casting their votes on Saturday. On Sunday, February 11th, 37 cities around the world will also give the opportunity to Indonesians living there to cast their votes, from countries in Africa to Asia to Europe and also parts of Southeast Asia. Now, for the Indonesian diaspora living in Hong Kong, February 13th will be their schedule to vote. Voting for the 2024 general elections abroad will commence earlier, starting from February 15th to 14th, February 5th to 14th, excuse me. The voting will be organized by the Overseas Election Committee, or PPLN, in 129 locations across 5 continents. The General Elections Commission, or KPU, stated that there are 3 methods for overseas voting in the 2024 elections. Despite having 3 voting methods available, however, overseas voters also need to understand that there are differences in the voting process among these 3 methods. Here are the details. Here are the 3 methods of overseas voting. First, we have the overseas polling stations, or TPSLN, and mobile ballot boxes, and also the option of sending it by post. The guidelines to overseas voting: first, you need to come to nearby overseas polling stations located at the TVRI Embassy Consulate, and then you need to cast your vote and mail it to the mobile ballot box. And then you need to make sure that you cast your vote and mail it via postal service. We continue with more national headlines. President Joko Widodo on Friday appointed Minister of Communications and Informatics Budi Ari Setiadi as acting foreign minister to temporarily replace Minister of Foreign Affairs Retno Marsudi, who is currently on overseas business trips. President Joko Widodo names Budi Ari as Foreign Affairs Minister ad interim. Minister of Foreign Affairs Retno Marsudi is currently on business trips to New York, United States from January 21st to 22nd. This appointment was stipulated through a letter signed by Minister of State Secretary Pratikno on Friday. Foreign Affairs Minister Retno Marsudi had previously asked permission to President Joko Widodo through an official letter on January 17th on her request to make overseas business trips. The Nusantara Capital City, or IKN, Authority organized Nusantara Flash Mob during a car-free day at Hotel Indonesia Roundabout in Jakarta on Sunday. This activity is a prelude to promote Nusantara Fair 2024.
Nusantara Flash Mob is considered an effective activity to attract millennials to Gen Z because they are the ones who will reside and develop Indonesia's future capital city. During Nusantara Flash Mob, Committee of IKN Authority, along with dancers from Gigi Art of Dance, invited the public to join the dance, named Nusantara Dance. The dance was not dominated by specific regional cultures, as the people who watched it could see all important cultural elements in the dance. Secretary of IKN Authority, Ahmad Jaka Santos Adiwijaya, said on Sunday that Nusantara Flash Mob held last Sunday was to inform the public about the upcoming event, namely Nusantara Fair 2024. IKN Authority will organize Nusantara Fair 2024 from January 26th to 28th at Kota Casablanca Mall, Jakarta, aimed at raising public awareness on the capital city development. The event will also provide comprehensive information about the achievements already attained by IKN Authority.
A senior official at the Ministry of Tourism and Creative Economy said Indonesia expects to see 1 million to 1.5 million Chinese visitors this year, which would be more than double than the figure in 2023. Marketing Director of Ministry of Tourism and Creative Economy Wisnu Sindutrisno said that Indonesia has set its target to receive 1 million to 1.5 million of Chinese travelers this year. Last year, the country expected to receive 361,000 Chinese travelers, and in reality, more than 707,000 Chinese travelers visited Indonesia. Wisnu said that around 65% of Chinese travelers last year are young people who love traveling, adventures, and cultural tourism. That has been a new trend with Chinese travelers. The Chinese travelers prefer to spend their time in the mountain, like doing hiking, mountain climbing, and diving. More tourism update. I Gusti Ngurah Rai International Airport in Bali finally opens new slots for direct flights between Denpasar, Bali and Shanghai, China, after a year of planning. Marketing Director for Regional 1 at Tourism and Creative Economy Ministry, Wisnu Sindutrisno, on Saturday attended a ceremony for the first arrival of an aircraft of Shanghai airline company Junayo Airlines at the I Gusti Ngurah Rai International Airport in Bali. The aircraft carried passengers in a direct flight from Pudong, Shanghai to Denpasar, Bali. Wisnu said that new direct flight between Shanghai and China and Bali in Indonesia by Junayo Airlines will increase connectivity between the two countries. He said that Chinese tourists from all segments will come to Indonesia as the airliner provides economy and business seats. Wisnu said that Junayo Airlines would add more Shanghai-Bali flights as the company is planning to upgrade its aircraft on October 1 this year. Currently, the Shanghai-Bali flight of Junayo Airlines used Airbus A320neo with a capacity of 164 seats. The company plans to upgrade it into Boeing 787 Dreamliner with 342 seats. Focus Today will continue with more international headlines right after this short break. We'll be right back.
Earth is our home. However, the Earth's condition is increasingly in crisis. Therefore, we as humans must be wise to make good use of waste, as was done by the couple doctors, Dr. Adanta and Dr. Adita. Stay tuned for today's journey of Potential Lab. In this episode, we will get to know the married couple, Mr. Hendro and Mrs. Naning. They are the owners of the Peduli Agro Dragon Fruit Picking Tour. There, we will understand how they manage dragon fruit to become an extraordinary investment.
Luwih apa cek sekehe cerita liananira.
Lontar Yusuf is a narrative poem about the life of one of Islam's most popular prophets, Prophet Yusuf.
Lontar itu naskah, dan kebetulan ini banyak orang bilang itu naskah kuno. Sebetulnya awalnya lontar itu ditulis di daun lontar medianya itu. Sekarang teknologi itu semakin canggih hingga disalin ke media kertas.
Welcome back to Focus Today on TVRI World. Still with me, Siska Becker. We'll continue our reporting now with the latest update from the Red Sea crisis.
Extended lead times.
There will be some hesitation from both sides, the customer sides and the supplier side, because there are delays in shipments. Some issues with cash flow, because your lead time is going to be a bit longer. So those are the more concerns in the short term.
This change adds approximately 2 weeks to scheduled voyage times from India, resulting in higher freight charges and insurance premiums. Indian officials revealed that around 25% of exporters are holding back outbound shipments due to elevated costs linked to the Red Sea crisis.
We are waiting to see, what is going to happen. Obviously, the impact on high-value cargo is less, because whatever increases have happened will not be such a big impact on it as a percentage. But on the lower-value cargoes, it will be a problem.
Approximately 80% of India's goods trade with Europe, amounting to nearly $14 billion monthly, previously transited through this vital waterway. As the Red Sea disruptions persist, there is growing apprehension about the potential significant impact on trade. The Indian government is taking measures to address the situation, including seeking ways to ease credit flows to exporters and implementing new measures to contain insurance costs for cargo vessels.
More economic impact from the Red Sea crisis, as shipping costs from Asia to Europe are skyrocketing as container ships reroute around Africa's Cape of Good Hope to evade attacks by Yemen's Houthi group in the Red Sea.
Shanghai Shipping Exchange data reveals a 300% surge in shipping costs per container for the Shanghai to Europe route and a 250% increase for the Shanghai to Mediterranean route in the 8 weeks ending on January 12. French shipping group CMA CGM plans to raise rates from Asia to the Mediterranean region by up to 100% starting on January 15. Freightos reports that Asia to North Europe shipment rates doubled to over $4,000 per 40-foot container, while Asia to Mediterranean prices exceeded $5,000 in the first week of 2024. The Red Sea, handling about 12% of global trade, has seen increased tensions following US-led airstrikes on Houthi military targets. The Houthis claim these attacks are in response to Israel's military campaign in Gaza. The Houthi group has intensified military operations in the Red Sea, targeting commercial ships, which they allege are either Israeli or bound for Israeli ports.
And now time for a U.S. election update. Republican presidential candidate Ron DeSantis addressed concerns about the Trump factor in the upcoming elections, noting the split sentiment among Republican voters. With New Hampshire's primary only a few days away, many voters have yet to decide who they will cast their ballots for.
Speaking in New Hampshire after his distant second-place finish to Donald Trump in the Iowa caucuses, DeSantis highlighted the abysmal turnout and the challenge of energizing the Republican base. He emphasized that there's a segment that doesn't want to repeat the Trump thing, but bought into the idea of inevitability impacting enthusiasm. When asked if he believes he can defeat Trump and become the nominee, DeSantis expressed confidence, stating he sees a pathway as long as he remains in the hunt. He acknowledged the potential impact on Democrat enthusiasm depending on the Republican candidate, emphasizing the advantage Trump could bring. With Florida Governor Ron DeSantis withdrawing from the race, the Republican field is down to former President Donald Trump and former South Carolina Governor Nikki Haley. Undecided and unaffiliated voters will be crucial to Haley if she is to pull off an upset and beat Trump in New Hampshire. Unaffiliated voters are allowed to participate in the primary of their choice. About 30% are effectively Republicans, 35% align with Democrats, and 35% are truly independent, estimates Andrew Smith, director of the University of New Hampshire Survey Center and a political science professor.
From the U.S., we now go to Germany, where hundreds of thousands of people have taken to the streets across towns and cities in Germany this weekend as the country enters a second week of nationwide protests against the right-wing Alternative for Germany, or AfD, party. In Berlin, organizers estimated around 350,000 people joining a protest in front of the parliamentary building. Stations in the area were temporarily shut, and people were asked to stop joining the process as the influx of people increased in numbers. Demonstrations have gained momentum after reports emerged from investigative news website Corrective of a meeting of right-wing extremists in Potsdam, at which migration policies, including mass deportations of people of foreign origin, were discussed. The AfD, which is polling second in nationwide surveys, has denied the reported migration plans as party policy. High waves crash against Port Lebanon's coastline as Storm Isha brings strong wind to the UK on Sunday. Meanwhile, as the storm hits, planes are unable to land at London Airport.
Large waves crash against England's southwest coast on Sunday. As Storm Isha brought strong winds to the UK and Ireland. The storm has also impacted travel. Airlines cancelled 102 flights in and out of Dublin Airport, while 27 flights opted to divert to other airports. Footage shows planes unable to land at London's Heathrow Airport as Storm Isha hit the United Kingdom on Sunday afternoon. Video showed several planes abandoning their attempts to land, including a British Airways plane that took off again after it failed to touch down.
From the storms of UK, we now talk about the heat in Australia, where on Sunday, large swaths of Australia sweltered again through a widening heat wave with temperatures in the remote Pilbara and Gascoyne areas in Western Australia. In the West Australian town of Mekatara, Royal Mail Hotel manager Alex McWither said the heat could cook you alive. In the Pilbara mining town of Paraburdu, a high of 48 degrees Celsius was forecast, more than 7 degrees above the average January maximum, according to forecaster data. The hot, dry conditions raised the risk of bushfires in some areas, the forecaster said, during the El Niño, which is typically associated with extreme phenomenon such as wildfires, cyclones, and droughts. Back to the U.S., where cold weather continued to grip much of the U.S. on Saturday, with frigid temperatures forecast across 2/3 of the country in the days ahead, along with snow, freezing rain, and heavy showers. The National Weather Service, or NWS, said a new cold air mass building over the nation's midsection would send temperatures plunging 20 to 30 degrees Fahrenheit below average from the high plains east into the Ohio and Tennessee valleys by Monday evening. The Pacific Northwest and parts of the South have borne the brunt of extreme winter weather during the past week, as homes and businesses consumed record amounts of natural gas for heating and power generation due to the severe cold. Meanwhile, winter weather advisories were in effect for much of the Pacific Northwest, expected to be hit with another round of freezing rain and showers. Snow is expected in the Sierra Nevada mountains, with heavy rains and a chance of flash flooding predicted for the lower elevations of Northern California. Heavy rainfall in the southern Philippines has resulted in floods and mudslides, affecting over 490,000 people. Meanwhile, in Tanzanian city of Dar es Salaam, flash floods have swept away cars, houses, power lines, and a crucial bridge following heavy downpour on Saturday.
More than 490,000 people have been affected by the floods and mudslides triggered by the recent heavy rainfall in the southern region of the Philippines on Sunday. The agricultural losses caused by the recent rain-related disasters have exceeded about $1.2 million. Davao del Norte province and 5 other towns in the country have declared a state of disaster. The Civil Defense Office has reported several landslides in the Davao region, resulting 13 fatalities. The East African nation has received above normal rainfall in recent months due to the El Niño weather phenomenon. Dar es Salaam residents are counting the cost of the heavy rainfall that has battered the city. The downpour commenced in the early hours of Saturday and persisted throughout the day. The flooding this time led to the shutting down of a crucial road leading out of the commercial hub. In another locality, a bridge was washed away, cutting off access to a section of the city.
Focus Today continues with our compilation of Animal Watch. We start with Ida, a 200-pound loggerhead sea turtle, which was rescued by fishermen and the U.S. Coast Guard and released back into the Atlantic Ocean in Marathon, Florida. Meanwhile, on Saturday, a competition celebrated the Peruvian Paso horse with a series of demonstrations of this traditional Andean horse. And from Yunnan, China, a water-fearing baby elephant was recently spotted bravely challenging itself to taking a bath in a stream. Let's have a look.
Ida was found entangled in a lobster tray buoy line on Thursday by Ida Short and her husband, who were fishing for fun. They named the turtle after Ida Short, who said they were happy to help the endangered turtle. The Florida Keys-based turtle hospital team joined the Coast Guard to rescue Ida and bring her to the hospital for treatment. She had fluids and antibiotics for her minor injuries before she was ready to return to the ocean after 2 days of quick recovery. For 3 days, 330 horses participated in 3 categories: mares, stallions, and workhorses, according to George Villacorta, the president of Mala's Peruvian Paso Horse Breeders Association. Peruvian Paso horse, regarded by many as Peru's national horse, was bred from animals brought by Spaniards and other Europeans to the Americas. It was originally bred for foremen on haciendas to ride all day long, or for hacienda owners to travel between valleys along Peru's desert coast. Despite the initial hesitation, the brave calf eventually summoned up enough courage to dip its foot into the inviting water, where its family were waiting patiently. Due to its small stature, the calf found itself almost submerged by the water, with the surface nearly reaching to the height of its eyes. The calf swiftly lifted its head and retreated from the stream upon the startling discovery. After the short bath, the naughty calf rolled around and frolicked with its big brothers.
Since the United Nations Climate Change Summit, or COP28, concluded mid-December in Dubai, United Arab Emirates Pacific Island states have been working to implement a brand new $500 million climate protection fund. VOA's Jessica Stone reports.
Scientists say these are among the most endangered shorelines on the planet. The Pacific Island nations, Niue, the Marshall Islands, Micronesia, Palau. Together, they are on the front line of the battle against climate change.
As ocean states, we'd say protection of the oceans is an important component because it's the largest carbon sink. Every second breath you take comes from the ocean.
Palau President Surangel Whips Jr. says ocean conservation has long been a way of life for those who live in the Pacific Islands. Palauan Environment Minister Stephen Victor provides this example from the 1990s.
The fishermen and their local chiefs got together and then decided that these were areas that needed rest from fishing to allow them to recover.
We should be proud of our historic achievement.
At last year's United Nations Climate Change Summit, or COP28, Pacific Island nations announced the Blue Pacific Prosperity Initiative and raised $228 million towards a $500 million fund to conserve 30% of the ocean. National Geographic's Pristine Seas program is already helping Palau set up a marine protected area and stands ready to advise other Pacific nations as well, says founder Enric Sala.
We are there for the long haul to make sure that the protected areas are designed properly, located in the right places, so they can maximize the benefits to marine life, to local people, and to the climate.
Victor says he hopes Pristine Seas research can illuminate Palau's deep ocean resources, where indigenous knowledge isn't as extensive.
That helps us understand why fish, especially beyond the reef, utilize a certain deep areas in the ocean to aggregate.
Sala says walling off critical fishing grounds is a proven way to replenish them within 5 to 10 years. But he says the longer-term objective is to put a dent in global warming.
The plankton in the ocean, these microscopic algae and bacteria that live offshore, they capture a quarter of the CO2 emissions that we produce every year.
And Palau President Whip says it's a goal that represents an investment, not only for the region, but for the world.
Our first goal is to get to 500 million. I'd like to see the fund get up to 2 billion. It's 15 countries.
15 countries desperate to protect their precious resources. Jessica Stone, VOA News.
From the sunny Pacific Islands, we now go to snowy Canada, where Canada's renowned Rideau Canal Skateway, the world's largest natural ice skating rink, opened for skating on Sunday morning for the first time in 2 years.
The 7.8 kilometers canal skateway, which first opened over 50 years ago, is part of a UNESCO World Heritage Site in Canada's capital city, Ottawa, and is also a top attraction for skating enthusiasts seeking outdoor thrills during Canada's usually biting cold winters. The canal did not open to skating last season in early 2023 for the first time due to a lack of ice. National Capital Commission, or NCC, which maintains and operates the skateway, said at the time, blaming the closure on a mild winter caused by climate change. The NCC has previously said it can only open when the ice is at least 12 inches thick, for which there must be 10 to 14 consecutive days of temperatures between -20 Celsius and -10 Celsius.
Indonesia Masters 2024 will kick off on Tuesday, January 23 to 28. Here are some match schedules for Indonesian athletes in the first stage.
Badminton World Federation (BWF) has scheduled 4 tournaments in January. After Malaysia Open and India Open, world-class badminton athletes set their eyes to Indonesia Masters. The badminton tournament will be held at Istora Senayan, Gelora Bung Karno Sport Complex from January 23rd to 28th. Apart from giving BWF ranking and the race to Paris, the badminton tournament also offers a total cash prize of $420,000 or equivalent of 6.3 billion rupiah. Indonesia sent 20 badminton shuttlers to his Super 500 badminton tournament, with 17 of them would directly advance to the main tournament. Some of them have faced 2 contenders in the first stage. In the men's single, Chico Auradui Wardoyo will meet Denmark's 8th seed Anders Antonsen in the round of 32, while Anthony Sinisuka Ginting to face Malaysian shuttler Eng Tong Yong, and Jonathan Christie will play Lu Guangzhou from China. In the men's double, Hendra Setiawan and Muhammad Ahsan, or the Daddies, will face Li Yang and Wang Qilin from Taiwan. Hendra Ahsan may have not been able to beat Li Wang since Thailand Open 2021. Meanwhile, mixed double Dejan Ferdinandsa and Gloria Emmanuel Wijaya will meet China's top seed Zheng Ziwei, Wang Yaqiong.
Italy's Camilla Vanni claimed the first alpine ski gold at the Winter Youth Olympic Games on Sunday, crossing the finish line with a time of 53.54 to top the women's right there at the Women's Super G podium. The 2026 Winter Olympic hosts claimed 3 of the 9 golds on offer on day 2 in Gangwon, South Korea, with wins in the men's singles and women's doubles luge to bring their total tally for the Games to 4, tied with France for the most won so far. The French success on Sunday came in the mixed team snowboard cross event, where Jonas Cholet took the gold while Breathlete Anthony Ngai claimed his second gold of the Games, this time in the single mixed relay with Alice Doucet. Esther Ledecka of the Czech Republic continued her snowboarding return by winning the World Cup parallel slalom event in Pomporovo on Sunday, her second victory in 2 days.
Rounding out the podium was Fabian Othmann of Austria.
Our sports highlight ends today's news on Focus Today. I'm Siska Becker. Stay safe, everyone. Thank you for watching, and goodbye.
Indonesia bersatu. Culture. I am right now in Bangka Island, where I'm standing in front of the 0 kilometer monument. And the interesting fact about this is, the front part of it is in Arab language that means Haza Fulus, which means money or cooperation. And the back side of it is in a Hakka language or Chinese that says Pinlang or Pinang trees. How interesting is that? And as you can see, this monument, it's 4.8 meters in diameter and it weighs 600 kilograms. Wow! Okay, so you're ready for an adventure in Bangka? Stay with me on Taste and Culture. I'm Jovita Karen and I dare you to come. Fun fact, Menumbing Hill is 355 meters above sea level, and the only way to get to this place is if you rent a car, because currently there are no other public transportations that can go up here. So let's go in. This is the journey that you will experience towards Menumbing Hill, relatively far from urban and remote, surrounded by forests. And that time, Menumbing Hill has very limited access. I finally made it up Menumbing Hill, the first exile of President Sukarno. And fun fact is, there's a bit of a fog going on right now, but if the fog cleared up, you can actually see the view of the sea from there. How cool is that? I bet it would be beautiful. And over here, we actually have the house that Sukarno stayed in. Wow! As you can see from the outside, it looks like a fort and a castle kind of vibe. It is really cool. I cannot wait to see inside it. Let's go. And in this building, witness the history of the journey of Indonesian nation today. Halo Bapak.
Halo, selamat datang.
Halo Pak.
Iya. Wah, suasananya berkabut ya?
Iya.
Oke.
Wah Pak, ini bagus banget ya. Jadi ini museum atau gimana ya Pak kalau sekarang?
Ya, kita menjadi museum. Ini namanya Galeri Sejarah Pesanggerahan Menumbing. Ini adalah tempat pengasingan pemimpin Republik Indonesia, terutama Bung Hatta sebagai Perdana Menteri di sini. Itu pada saat Republik Indonesia mendapatkan serangan agresi militer Belanda kedua pada tanggal 19 Desember 1948, yang mana para pemimpin Republik Indonesia tersebut ditangkap dan diasingkan keluar dari ibu kota Republik Indonesia, Yogyakarta. Perdana Menteri Muhammad Hatta, Komandan Surya Dharma, Mr. Asad selaku Ketua KNIP, dan Agi Pringgodigdo selaku Sekretaris Negara, semuanya ditangkap, semuanya diasingkan di gedung ini.
Itu berarti ada mobil itu tadi aku ngelihat kayak unik banget, itu mobilnya siapa Pak?
Ini yang digunakan oleh beliau selama dia berjalan di Pulau Bangka, BN 10. Otentik, ini Ford Deluxe tahun 1947.
Wow. Okay, so this is actually the actual real car that Hatta used while he was here, and look at it. It's in a really good condition. Like you can see how strong it is. Nah, kalau plat BN10 ini apa Pak? Ada artinya nggak?
BN10 ini adalah kendaraan punya pada saat itu Presiden Bangka Belitung yang diberikan oleh Datuk Mas Syarif kepada Wakil Presiden Perdana Menteri Hatta untuk digunakannya selama di Pulau Bangka.
Keren banget Pak. Kalau di sana ada apa lagi Pak? Aku masih mau lihat-lihat nih.
Ya, silakan. Nah, kita sekarang menuju ke ruang kerangkeng di mana para pemimpin Republik Indonesia ya pada saat itu di kerangkeng.
Oh wow, di mana kerangkengnya Pak tadinya?
Kami membuatnya ini dalam bentuk 4x6. Ini kami membatasinya dengan menggunakan selotip warna hitam. Mereka tidur di kamar sebelah dan mereka makan di sini.
Nah, terus mereka kalau makan di ruangan ini itu makannya apa Pak? Kan ini jauh dari mana-mana.
Ya, ada yang mengantarkan dan menyiapkan makanan untuk mereka. Dan beberapanya mungkin mereka diberikan kue yang menjadi favorit mereka ada di sini.
Oh gitu, ada kue favorit khas sini yang mereka suka?
Ya, terutama untuk Pak Karno selama dia ada di Kota Mentok dan mungkin pada saat ke gedung sini diberikan kue tersebut sebagai kesenangan buat.